So now see here, I'm going with the next command, head -2. I'm going with head -2. I'm giving one pipeline symbol, tail -3. I'm going with source file. So what is file? Source file. I'm giving some source file here. I'm giving head -2, tail -3, file 2. Tail -3, file 2. So what is tail here? Tail -3. Tail -3 means it will whatever you are creating the file here. This is the first preference for this particular command. So whenever you're trying to create a file here, source file here, it will take first preference. Remember this. After it will go with the next preference. Okay. Tail -3 is nothing but it will go with the reverse. It will go with the reverse. Tail -3 means line 10, line 9, line 8. Okay. Line 10, line 9, line 8. It will go with the last preference. So whenever you're trying to create a preference here, so whenever you're trying to create a preference on the file 2 concept, it will take the first priority. Then after that, it will go with the next priority. Okay. So currently the priority is here. The priority is here. Then it will no need to interact with the head command because we don't have any source file. We don't have any source file. So it will go directly this preference command. So this command will be executed. Line 10, line 9, line 8 has been executed. Okay. So we have one more concept, Control C to come out. Okay. So now if I go with a source file both parallelly, head -2, I'm going with file 2. Okay. So I'm going with the pipeline symbol, tail -2. I'm going with file 2. So what is your preference? So how it is taking the preference? First, it will take head or it will take a tail. Definitely tail, because it will work on the reverse concept. Whenever you're trying to reach, so because I'll tell you what is this. So we have small logic, guys. So this server, whenever you're trying to create a pipeline, whenever you're working on the communication of 2 commands, see here, the internally server will take a backtrack. The internally server will take a backtrack, like it will go with a reverse version. It will try to go with a reverse execution. Okay, this is the first preference in Ubuntu actually. Okay, because in servers, basically you're trying to hit the commands based upon the backtrack only. Okay, so I'll tell. So backtrack is nothing but it's completely comes under the reverse agenda. Okay, it will comes to reverse formulated. Okay, so we are trying to go with the reverse form. ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే జస్ట్ చిన్నగా మీకు జనరల్గా చెప్తున్నా అండి, ఎప్పుడైనా సరే సర్వర్ అనేది రివర్స్ ఉంటే వర్క్ చేస్తుందండి మనకు. ఎందుకంటే మనం సర్వర్ ఏదైతే ఫైల్ నేమ్ 2 ఇచ్చేసాం యాక్చువల్గా, ఇప్పుడు సర్వర్ ఖచ్చితంగా కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అవుతుంది ఎవరికి ఇవ్వాలి ఫస్ట్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ అనేది ఇస్తుంది. సో దాని ప్రకారంగా అది చూసుకుంటే అది ఏంటంటే రివర్స్ ఉంటే వెళ్తుంది. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు ఏదైతే సోర్స్ ఫైల్ ఫస్ట్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ ఇక్కడ ఉందో దాన్ని రివర్స్ తీసుకొని ఫస్ట్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ ఇదే ట్రీట్ చేస్తుంది, ఇదే తీసుకుంటుంది. ఓకే, దీన్ని ఏమంటాం అంటే గ్రెప్ అంటాం, గ్లోబల్ రెగ్యులర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ అంటాం దీన్ని. ఓకే, సో దీన్ని ఏమంటాం అంటే గ్రెప్ అంటాం. గ్రెప్ యాక్చువల్ గా మనం పైప్ లైన్ కమాండ్ అనేది ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేస్తున్నామంటే ఫిల్టర్స్ కి, అంటే సపోజ్ నాకు ఈ లైన్స్ మాత్రమే స్పెసిఫై అవ్వాలి, ఈ లైన్స్ మాత్రమే మనము చూసుకోవాలి అన్నప్పుడు మనం గ్రెప్ అనేది యూజ్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, గ్లోబల్ రెగ్యులర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్స్ అంటాం దాన్ని. ఓకే, సో ఈ కమాండ్స్ అనేవి చాలా పాపులర్ అనమాట యాక్చువల్ గా. సో ఇవి ఫిల్టర్ కమాండ్స్ కూడా అంటారు దీన్ని. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఈస్ హౌ వీ కెన్ గో విత్ ద ఇంటర్నల్లీ అండర్ ద pipeline commands. Okay, so now we're going with the next concept, file permissions. File permissions, very very important. File permissions, what do you mean by file permissions actually? So suppose whenever you're working with any organization, like in software company, you're working with any organization, definitely you're trying to create a files, you're trying to create a folders, right? So in this, you don't know how can you're writing some data, currently. This, how can you know whether you're writing or reading or executing? How to know this actually? So in this concept in Linux, one of the most powerful concept, that is file permissions. Okay, so file permissions are very flexible to work on the progress. Okay, file permissions are very flexible to work on the progress. Very, very important, guys. I'm telling you once again, in DevOps, we are working on these file permissions. Okay, so here in file permissions, we have two types. The first one is numerical notation. Second one is alphabetical notation. Numerical notation and alphabetical notation, very, very important. The first one is, so actually in file permissions, so I'll show you a small example to understand this concept. Clear the screen. Okay, so suppose if I go with ls, see here I have two files. If I go with ls-l, see here what happens. I'm getting these things. This is a, so whenever you're trying to hit any file, it will take defaultly one is a constant number for file, one is a constant number for the files, and this is the owner, this is others, and this is the size of the memory. Because I'm working on the memory part, and month, date, and time, and this is the source file, right? So I want to working on these particular things. I want to work on, so what is meant by RW? What is these lines? We don't know what is these lines. Okay, so we need to work on the progress. Okay, for this, what I'm doing here is I'm working on the progress on file permissions. So generally, the file permissions are, we have some static operations. One is read, write, and execute. Read, write, execute. So I'm giving a symbolical way. Read stands for R, and write stands for W, and E stands for execute stands for X. Okay, read, write, W. So I'm going with symbolical way. Read, write, execute. Read, write, execute. Read, write, execute, and read, write, execute. So why I am writing three times here? Is, see here, whenever, so the first three lines, so we have one static format here. In file permissions, whenever you're trying to create read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute, so we have a concept that is owner. The first three lines will comes to owner. Okay, the next three lines will comes to group. Okay, the next three lines will comes to group, and the next three lines will comes under the execute. The first three lines will comes to owner, group, and execute. Sorry, others. Sorry, this is others, not execute. Others. Owner, group, and others. Okay, the first three lines will comes to owner, second three lines will comes to group, and third three lines will comes under the others. Okay, and whatever you have a middle, this hyphen, that is comes under the space notation. Whatever you're thinking this line, this is comes under space notation under the server. Space notation, remember this, space notation. Okay, why you are trying to create this line here is, this is space notation. Okay, so it will come the static way. Okay, see here, the first three lines will comes to owner, the second three lines will comes to group, and third three lines will comes under the others. See here, we have starting line here. Starting one cursor is there, no, that is D. Okay, if you see here, mkdir, I'm going with mkdir D1. See here, if I go with ls, D1 is created. If I go with ls-l, see what happens. The first line has been occupied with D. D stands for directory. Read, write, execute, read, write, execute. See, this is how we can go with the file permissions. Okay, so now we are going with the agenda. The first one is numerical notation. Numerical notation. What is the numerical notation? Numerical notation is nothing but numbers. We are working with the numbers are real numbers. real numbers. Numbers are real numbers. Okay, suppose if I want to, so, and I want to tell you one thing very clearly. So we have a read stands for R, and we have a constant number that is 4. 4 in numerical notation, the constant number is 4, and coming to write, we are working with the 2, and coming to execute, we are working with the 1. Okay, in numerical notation, we are working with 4, 2, 1. 4 stands for read, 2 stands for write, 1 stands for execute. Okay, so now in numerical notations, we are starting with the count of 0. So total how much? 4 plus 2 plus 1, total 7. We are working with 7. 7 stands for all permissions. Okay, 7 stands for all permissions. All permissions. Okay, so now 0 stands for, we are working with the 0, that is no permission. No permission. And 1 stands for, what is 1 here? Execute. We are working with the X stands for execute, right? So I'm going with X. Coming to 2. 2 stands for write. Right. And 3 stands for write plus execute. Write plus execute. And 4 stands for read. And 5 stands for, so 4 plus 1, read plus execute. Read plus execute. Read plus execute. Next, coming to 6. 6 stands for 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Read plus write. Read plus write. And 7 stands for all permissions. Read plus write plus execute. Okay, so this is comes under the numerical notations. So we need to work on this progress. We need to work on this progress. Okay, now I want to say one thing very clearly. So whenever you're trying to go with these permissions, definitely we have a command. So we want to go with the command that is change mod. Change mod. Change mod. I'm working with the change mod as a command for the file permissions. Okay, so now let's go with the concept. Suppose clear the screen. Okay, so I'm going with any file is there, ls. We have file1.txt, right? File1.txt. So we have a data here. We have a data. Okay, ls-l. So in ls-l, okay, now I'll try to go with this one, guys. File1.txt. See, we have a read write. We have only read write. We have only read permissions. I want to get all the permissions for file1.txt. I want to get all the permissions, right? Read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. I want to get all the permissions in file1.txt. See here, we have a change. Change mod. Change mod. I'm going with change mod. Okay, I'm giving you a file name. So I want to give what we have a 3 platforms here: read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. So I want to give 777. I'm giving that 777 file1.txt. File1.txt. See here, if I go with ls, so currently file1.txt, the color is changed. The color is changed. If I go with ls-l, let's see the observation. Have you noticed this? We get all the permissions. We get all the without disturbing the previous permissions. I'm giving all the permissions to file1.txt, and the color has been changed. And the color has been changed. Right? So now I'll give one more permission to you. I'm going with change mod. Change mod. I'm going with 0, 0, 1. I'm going with 3. 0, 1, 3. File1.txt. File1.txt. Okay. So now if I go with ls-l, what happens? See, we don't. What is 0 here? No permission. 0 stands for no permission. 1 stands for, what is 1? 1 stands for execute. So we have execute permission. And 2 stands, and what is this 3? 3 stands for, so we are, this is the owner, this is the group, and this is the others. 0 stands for owner, 1 stands for group, 3 stands for others. 3 stands for others. Okay. So like this, in organization, whenever he want to try to create a file permissions, he will try to shift the file permissions according to numerical notations. Numerical notations are very powerful. Remember this. Numerical notations are very powerful to change without disturbing the previous permissions. Okay. So this is all about the file permissions, guys, in numerical notation. Now we are going with the next concept, that is alphabetical notation. Source file. Source file. Okay. So now we are going with the next concept, alphabetical notation. Alphabetical notation. So coming to alphabetical notation, we have same thing. So we are not changing anything for the group, owner, and others. I'm doing same thing here. But the thing is, some changes. I'm giving some changes here. I'm going with owner. I'm going with O. I'm going with O. Next, coming to group. I'm going with G. Coming to others, I'm going with U. So this is how we can go. U. Okay. So here we have, in numerical alphabetical notations, we have some operations, that is, so here plus stands for adding the permission. Adding the permission. And minus stands for removing the permission. Removing the permissions. So plus stands for adding the permission, minus stands for removing the permissions. Now I want to go with the file permissions like this. Okay. So now what I'll do here is, I'm going with the change mod. Okay. So change mod. I'm going with O. So I'm adding the permission. What is O here? O stands for owner. Okay. I'm adding the permission, some right. I'm adding the permission, some right, with the source file. Okay. I'm going with file 1. Okay. So let's see this. I'm going with the touch. I'm going with F1. If I go with ls-l, see here, F1 is created, read, write, execute. So we have this file 1 is created like this. I want to add execute permission in owner. No, have you noticed this? We don't have any execute permission in owner. Okay. So now we'll see that. Change mod. I'm going with O plus X for file 1. O plus X plus file 1. See here, if I go with ls-l, have you noticed? Okay, color has been okay. Okay, here we got execute permission here, not this. Execute permission we got, so O stands for others, guys. Sorry, O stands for others. So here we don't have any file permission, only read permission is there. See here, X is added. Okay, O stands for others. Sorry, guys. O stands for others. So we have like this. We have only read permission. We don't have write permission. We don't have execute permission. Okay. So we are added execute permission here. Okay. So now we are going with change mod. I'm going with, suppose I'm going with next file permission. I'm going with O minus, I can remove the read permission. Okay. O minus R. I want to execute write permission. So I'm execute write permission. I'm removing the read permission. I'm adding the write permission for file 1. Okay. If I go with ls-l, have you noticed? See, we removed successfully read permission. We are adding the write permission here. We are writing the permission here. Okay, so now see here, I'm going with change mod. Coming to G stands for group. G stands for group. In group we don't have any file permission, only execute permission is there. Okay, now I can go with G plus R plus W for file 1. File 1. If I go with ls-l, see, have you noticed this? Read write has been executed. Read write has been executed for groups. For group, read permission is added, write permission is added. Okay, so now I want to go with all permissions. So for this, see here, we have one drawback in alphabetical notation. We are trying to add, so we are trying to add only the specifications. We are trying to add only the specifications. So here in organization, alphabetical notation will add the permissions, remove the permissions. That's it. Not it is same to numerical permissions. Okay, so numerical permissions ఇచ్చినట్టు alphabetical notation ఇవ్వదు. సింగిల్ అంటే alphabetical notation ఎలా అంటే ఓన్లీ పర్టికులర్ దాన్ని యాడ్ చేస్తుంది, రిమూవ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. అందుకే మనకు alphabetical notation అనేది మనకు ఆర్గనైజేషన్ లో అంత వర్కౌట్ అవ్వదు. Okay, but numerical notation is very powerful, and it is we can do whatever we want according to the numerical notation. Okay, so this is all about the file permissions, guys. Okay, so alphabetical notation will only the adding the permissions and removing the permissions in alphabetical notation, but coming to numerical notation, we can do whatever we want according to the numerical numbers, that is real numbers. Okay, so this is all about the alphabetical notations.